A lot of runners experience post-race depression, and I want to explain this. I've dealt with this, so I can talk about it. I want to explain this and what to do to fix that. Because if you're about to do the biggest race of your life, or maybe you've experienced this in the past, it's a very real thing. And I think we could actually blow this out from just racing, but life in general, and when it comes down to achieving and accomplishing things. I think as humans, we desire and get energy off of growth, and we get fuel from accomplishment and purpose, and a lot of that comes down to races. And so I had a race in particular, Zion 100, that I ran a couple years ago. And first off, it didn't go well. I raced the race poorly. I didn't execute on my plan well, and I learned from that, and I'll be able to apply the things I learned from that. But after that race, I was also really burnt out, and it was really hard for me to train, and so I had to step away from running for a little bit. And I'm back to running plenty, and I feel better. But in that time, there was this, no official diagnosis, but it makes me think about, postpartum depression. Or I know males experience this too, and I have a friend who had a kid, and he mentioned that he dealt with that after his kid was born. And I think really what this is us losing or missing out on purpose. And so when I finished Zion 100 and I didn't have running, and a lot of my value and who I was me as the runner, like Reese the runner, I felt that kind of post-race depression. And I felt this after races before. And sometimes I haven't felt it after races. And one of the things I realized was, when I didn't experience that, I had another race planned. But here's the thing. I'm not saying you should always have a race planned. At least for me, what I've been working on and I've been better at doing is shifting my perspective from racing as purpose, or just overall the experience of physical activity. Like, that is life. And so what I'm getting at is, if the lack of purpose, for example, a race, or having a kid, or the job promotion, if that is what gives you purpose and makes you feel good, and once that is accomplished, there's nothing there. There's empty space that needs to be filled. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. And at least for me, speaking for myself, when I finished a race and haven't had something on the horizon, I experienced that little bit of depression, or just lack of purpose. I view that as synonyms. Lack of purpose is depression in my mind. Depression is lack of purpose. And so there's a couple things to think about this. A couple ways to solve this, I guess, in my mind, is you either always have something, and so you never are purposeless. You always have the next race as a runner. Or what you do is you change the idea of what the purpose is, because a lot of people get into training for the race. Once the race is accomplished, there's nothing left, right? What if the purpose is physical exercise and activity and progressing over decades, or enjoying it over decades, even if you don't quote unquote progress? What if that's the goal and racing just happens in that sometimes? And so the point is how do you find a purpose without a specific thing, like a race on the calendar, or a due date for a baby, right? And I haven't had kids, so I can't speak on that much. It's just an example or a parallel I think of, or when I've heard people talk about postpartum depression. So I think the way you solve this is you either always have something, which can be draining, and I don't think you always have to have a race, but if you want to, go ahead. It's just if you don't have one, you might experience something like this. Or your purpose is not racing. Your purpose is physical activity, running, enjoying the sport. You just happen to get races here and there. And as I've thought about this more, when there's not a race on my calendar, or I'm months from a race that I haven't even really begun the training block for, it feels like I have purpose, because I'm just training because I enjoy it. Or that is the purpose, to just run. The purpose is not racing. So hopefully this helps you if you have had something like this, or if you're training for a big race like a marathon and you've never done it, you might run into something like this. And I hope this gave some perspective on that if you've gone through or are about to go through something like this. And if you like this type of content, my name's Reese. I post running videos because I want to help people deepen their connection with running, avoid injuries, PR, all the good things that happen when it comes to running. And so feel free to subscribe. If not, I still hope you got something out of this video, and I hope I get to see you in another video sometime soon. Peace.